All great gardens are built one plant at a time, but that doesn't mean when I get to the nursery, I don't feel overwhelmed about all the options and struggle to figure out what plants I need to buy. So I want to break this down and give you a super simple recipe that you can adapt to any spot in your garden that only uses 4 types of plants. Okay, I lied. It's not 4, it's 5. Of course, no recipe is going to work for every space, so feel free to switch these plants out according to the size of your space and also the goals. But let me break down the recipe. That way, when you're planning your space, you can mix and match your ingredients based on what's available in your area, what's hardy in your zone. Really, the recipe or the formula stays the same. So of course, all of my recipes have to have a hydrangea. This is white wedding hydrangea, and I love it because it's a more compact variety. So this one is a panicle hydrangea, which means even if we get a late spring cold snaps, which we do get that in Atlanta from time to time, that frost isn't going to be an issue for this type of hydrangea. Also, if you're not a confident hydrangea pruner and you whack this back in the winter, it's totally fine. Because this is a later summer blooming hydrangea that blooms on new wood, there's not really anything that you can do to it that will make it not bloom that year for you. In late summer, it'll have these huge, fluffy, amazing hydrangea blooms. So this recipe is for a full sun garden, but obviously you can adapt the recipe for a shady garden. For shady spots, I would switch out a panicle hydrangea for a mop head hydrangea. Or if hydrangeas aren't your thing, there are plenty of amazing shrubs that'll offer seasonal interest and be a bit taller. Basically, you want to have one thing that's your focal point in the garden, something with height that'll draw attention. And for this recipe, it's white wedding hydrangea. The main season of interest for panicle hydrangeas is going to be in the summer. Because this is a deciduous shrub and something that's not going to look good in the winter time, my goal for the rest of the recipe is to bring in colors that'll be beautiful in other seasons. An easy way to do that is to stick with evergreens. Honestly, you cannot go wrong with evergreens, and there are so many great ones to choose from. I've picked 3 that I know are reliable in my zone and have performed well with me. But again, you can adapt the recipe depending on where you live, the sunlight for the garden you're trying to design, and the goals for your space. One of my very favorite evergreens for southern gardens is loropetalum. There are different sizes, so if you have a smaller space, you can go with a smaller variety. If you have a larger space, you have room for larger varieties. The smaller variety that I have here is purple pixie. There's also purple daydream. There's so many different varieties of loropetalum. They all seem to do really well in full sun. These will have hot pink firecracker blooms in the spring, but the purple leaves, which is arguably the best part of this plant, those are evergreen, and these purple leaves will be in the garden when this hydrangea looks like this in the winter. Grasses give beautiful movement, and this is another really great grass for a southern garden. This is Platinum Beauty Lamandra, and this is perfect in the full sun to part shade garden. It looks like this year round, and you can see when the wind blows, it just offers really beautiful movement. So early when I started gardening, I would always look past grasses, but now I really appreciate the movement that they bring and how beautiful they are in the garden. So I always try to include grasses in my designs. Speaking of grasses in my designs, this is Carex Everillo. I talk about this all the time because it is such a good grass. This is a great grass for the part shade to shade. This will not do well in full sun, but since no garden seems to be only one type of lighting, there always seem to be some shady spots that you can tuck in Carex Everillo. Just like Platinum Beauty Lamandra, Carex Everillo is an evergreen grass. I love, love, love this grass, and I just can't resist a neon and purple pairing. I think it brings beautiful contrast, and while this doesn't really bloom, it does give that evergreen interest and something that's going to be pretty in the winter time when everything else is going to be kind of done. So to recap the recipe, we have a focal point. It could be something that has seasonal interest, but we want something with some height that'll bring great blooms and joy to the garden. Then with that, we also need some evergreens. So loropetalum works great. Azaleas, boxwoods, switch it out however you like. I prefer loropetalum because of the beautiful purple color of the leaves. So depending on the space you have, I like to create layers if I can. Tall focal points, shorter evergreen, some sort of grass that gives you that beautiful movement and structure in the garden, like Platinum Beauty Lamandra, and then perennials that bloom at different times or offer different seasons of interest. The Carex Everillo is going to be my evergreen interest, and something fun that blooms in a different season to the white wedding hydrangeas. The blooming perennial that I'm going with is Indigo Frost Agapanthus. This is a reblooming agapanthus, and I think it looks really whimsical in the garden. This is an agapanthus that'll bloom in the spring and then once again later in the summer. And this one is really cool because it has both white and purple. So I think it's going to tie in the white from the Platinum Blonde Lamandra, beautiful white wedding hydrangeas, as well as the purple from the Loropetalum, and bring it all together. If Agapanthus doesn't grow in your zone, you can swap out Agapanthus for another perennial. You're looking for something that'll bloom at a different time or be interesting at a time when the rest of your garden might be resting or might be gearing up for their bloom. Honey. So we're not just going to plant one of each plant. These are the main ingredients in our recipe. This isn't like baking bread. It's not an exact science. The quantities are going to be determined by the size of the space you're trying to fill. If you're working with a smaller space, say you're doing a mailbox garden or you just have a small corner that you want to fill, stick with one of your focal point ingredient. And then the most aesthetically pleasing way to plant is in odd number groups. So think groupings of 3, 5, 7, 9. So for the evergreen shrubs, for a smaller space, 3 is probably enough. And then for a smaller grouping, I would just do 1 grass. Or if you're planting up a mailbox, maybe you want to have a little bit of symmetry, so do 2. It's really up to you. And then from here, we just play with the perennials. We'll slide the Carex Everillo over here. And then we can add in our fun bloomers. You can imagine I am the mailbox, or perhaps the mailbox is in front of the hydrangea. Here's your idea for a smaller garden space. We have 1 focal point, 3 evergreens, 2 grasses, or honestly, this would look good as well with just 1 grass. And then we have 3 of each perennial, either 3 that are blooming, or you can lean heavy on the evergreen interest and do 1 set of blooming perennials and 1 drift of evergreen perennials. The world is really your oyster here. The plan for this video was to take you along with me as I planted up my dad's garden and show you how to use this recipe to scale it to a larger space. But I forgot that the area that we were installing this in has never been gardened in and is full of very, very dense clay, practically 0 topsoil, lots of gravel. So let's just say this wasn't an easy thing to get into the ground. It got done, but it wasn't something that would be aesthetically pleasing to watch. Instead, I'll just talk through the design and how to scale that smaller recipe to a larger space if you're looking to fill a larger space. To start with, my dad is an amazing gardener and he's done so much in that space. This area is an interesting spot because it's kind of between 2 decks and a walkway, and it has some unique lighting. He has a combination of full sun and part sun, and some areas that are more shade because of the way the sun goes along the house and the shadows that the deck causes. When you walk into my dad's backyard, it's the first space you see, and so even though he's done an amazing job landscaping the rest of the backyard, you kind of walk into nothingness on first arrival, and it's also the view that you see outside the kitchen window. Wanted to make sure it was extra special and beautiful, but I also wanted to make it low maintenance because my dad also veggie gardens, and it would be nice to give him a beautiful space that is hands off most of the year. The way we laid out the plants was very similar to the small space garden. Basically, I took the layout that I showed you with the small space mailbox garden and I flanked it on each side. I did add those beautiful blue ceramic planters. Costco made me do it basically. They have no business selling those beautiful planters for I think $35 or $40. That was a steal. I didn't know where to put them in my garden, so it was something that I wanted to add to my dad's garden, and that's something that's going to be beautiful year round. In each of the planters, I added a purple pixie Loropetalum. Adding evergreens to a planter is my favorite way to make a planter absolutely hands-off and low maintenance. They look good all year round, and you don't have to do anything if you don't want to. Of course, you can tuck in annuals here and there and change them out seasonally, but you really don't have to, and it looks great. On each side of the planter, I had 2 of the hydrangeas, making sure that I spaced them about 1.5 feet away from the walkway and the deck. I think it's pretty when plants spill a little bit into the walkway, but you don't want a plant to completely take over a walkway and then you lose that walkway functionality. In front of the hydrangeas, I added in a trio of purple pixie Loropetalums, and then in front of that, the Carex grass. Connecting the 2, sides of the garden, I have a trio of purple Daydream Loropetalum. We want to have our ducks in a row, but we don't need to have our plants all in one row. That looks very stiff and boring.
And just bumping a plant out here and there creates some more interest and movement in the garden, and I think looks better and more interesting. And then by bumping those things out, you create little pockets that you can plant trios in here and there. So my dad's garden is essentially 2 mailbox gardens on either side, connected by a trio of purple daydream loropetalums. Those grow to about 2 to 3 feet tall, so that'll grow up and over the deck and create a really nice evergreen backbone right there. And then between those 2 mailbox garden designs is where the agapanthus is, and those will offer early summer blooms. Panicle hydrangeas will offer mid to late summer blooms. Loropetalums are spring bloomers, and then the evergreens will look good year-round. Right now, the hydrangeas are dormant and boring. The agapanthus is dormant and boring. And so I wish I could show you what it's gonna look like in the summer. May do a quick update video. I'm gonna try to remember to snap a picture of what that garden space looks like in the summer, because I just can't wait to see all of those blooms. So hopefully you hit that subscribe button, follow along, and I will see you in the next video.